Tanakwe, Talofa, and good morning to you people of the internet. Welcome to the show. Now, you guys will probably know I've been in and out of action lately. Well, university's over for the semester, I've got a lot of extra time, so I've been trying to catch up on some other work. And in between that, I thought I would do a few movie reviews for you. These range from Oscar winners to a miniseries, and a film which has gotten a rather controversial reputation here on YouTube. So, let's start with the first film, the controversial one. And I'm probably going to get bashed up by the echo chamber here, but I am talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yes, the latest Star Wars film has turned out to be the most divisive Star Wars film in the saga. Critics loved it, while fans are divided, with some saying it was brilliant, while others downright despise it. However, it's the latter that seems to be the most vocal voice. And I'm going to come out and say it, despite the likely backlash from the echo chamber, I liked it. Okay, let me make one thing clear. It is not a masterpiece, and I understand why people have problems with the film, but I still think positively of it. I'm glad it did seem to tell its own story. The film is visually stunning, and the music is brilliant. I love the action scenes. I thought the battle scene at the beginning was a great way to open the film, but then we go into the problems. Character-wise, Luke I thought was good, though had one moment I would consider out of character. Rey and Kylo were done well, Finn was decent, Poe was decent, Rose, don't have any strong feelings either way, but felt she didn't really need to be there. Vice Admiral Holdo, on the other hand, I wanted to deck in her face. I hated her. Story. Best parts were on Arc 2. Canto Bight brought in a good moral grey area, but the lead-up was dull. Others were a mixed bag. There are other problems which I won't go into detail about. I have other films to talk about in the video. But despite them, I still managed to watch the film and have a great experience with it. Sure, it's flawed, but for me, those flaws don't ruin what I think is a good time. I can still give The Last Jedi an 8 out of 10.
Well, I'm glad I finally have it off my chest. Yes, I like The Last Jedi. No, it is not perfect. Are there reasons to not like it? Absolutely. However, what I loved about the film outweighed the things I didn't like about the film. We'll leave it at that. But if you do want to know about a few more of my problems, and maybe bring in a few other points, feel free to leave them in the comments. Anyway, we're moving into horror territory for our next entries. It's 2017, and the original It miniseries from 1990.
Now, I've only recently started to get more and more into horror films, and I thought both versions of It would be pretty good stepping stones into the genre. It is interesting to compare them. Both have similar strengths with great performances from the kids and iconic Pennywises, though Curry is the better clown and Skarsgård is the better monster. However, both have very different styles. While it may have been great horror in the 90s, the miniseries works more as a supernatural murder mystery than a horror, though does have an amount of genuinely creepy moments. It 2017 works beautifully as a horror, not perfect but genuinely scary, and not as prone to aging as the miniseries. Also, the 90s one had a terrible letdown with the final confrontation. Both bring a great interpretation of the book to the screen, and while different in style, are both fantastic. I personally prefer the newer version, but I can happily watch and praise both for what they did. The miniseries gets an 8.5, while 2017's version gets a 9.
We're still in horror territory for our next set of films, and I'm reviewing the first 3 films in Saw.
I've known about Saw for ages. The puppet creeps me out, and as I got older, I was intrigued by the philosophy of the Jigsaw Killer. Another Kiwi YouTuber, George Marchand, has sung the series' praises. And after a trip to the DVD store and a lucky shot on Netflix, I managed to see Saw 1, 2, and 3. And I love them. Not just because of the inventive traps, but the story is interesting, the characters, the development is fantastic. And the story does genuinely keep you guessing and wondering what's going on. I love that. I'd probably say the first and the third are my favourites in the first part of the series. All 3 tell great stories, but those 2 specifically told ones which kept me captivated the most. and I actually think Saw 3 would have been a great place to end the series had they decided not to continue. I do want to venture further into the series, but I'm overall happy with my Saw experience. At this stage, Saw 1 gets a 9 out of 10, Saw 2 gets an 8, and Saw 3 also gets a 9.
Now we leave horror and head right back into history. Wartime England, to be exact, and the film I'm examining today is Darkest Hour.
You may or may not know, but I love World War II history. It's something I share with Dad, and it's something we bond over. We saw Fury together, we saw Dunkirk together, and then when Darkest Hour came out, we knew we had to see it. And we loved it. It focuses more around the British political situation in 1940, when Chamberlain was ousted in a no-confidence vote, and Winston Churchill stepped forward to replace him. It deals with Dunkirk and a bit more, but it's fantastically handled. The story is fascinating, and boy, Gary Oldman is Winston Churchill. A choice that some would consider risky, but paid off really well. Oldman is one of my favourite actors, and I'd say this is one of his best performances. Right up there with Sirius Black. I was thrilled he got the Oscar for Best Actor, and that he did such a great job as the cigar-smoking bulldog that was Winston Churchill. A fantastic film, and one I'd happily recommend to World War II history buffs. I give it a 9 out of 10.
Just my thoughts on a few of these films. If you disagree with me or want to know my expanded thoughts, feel free to leave your comments down below. But thank you guys for joining me, and until next time, goodbye. Haere rā.